Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another great episode of the Stoop, where we talk hoops, and more hoops. I'm your guy, TJ, man. And listen, thank you guys for tuning in and supporting each and every episode. And furthermore, we got to say special shout out to our sponsors 24/7. You see our official Stoop basketball. And hey, listen, if you need a basketball for your tournament, your rec league, your gym, whatever the case is, hit up the good people at 24/7. They got you, because when it comes to this game, it's 24/7. With that being said, I got to introduce my player partner, my co-host, my man with the plan. Kev P, say what's up to the people, bro.
As always, pleasure to be here.
Hey, Kev, sometimes, man, legend just ain't the word that you need to use for the gentleman that we got on the Stoop tonight. It's more like an icon, a guy with generational talent, bouncing ability, athleticism. Listen, when they talk about top high school players to ever play this game known as basketball, this West Side represented, listen, NBA professionals, NBA champions, MVPs, the whole nine. If you ask them, you sit down and talk about that guy, it's this guy right here. Coming to the Stoop Live today, we want to say thank you and welcome to you, Mr. Schea Cotton. Mr. Schea Cotton, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for having us.
For coming on. Absolutely, absolutely. So let's go and get started with it. So we know as a youngster, as a young fella, you play baseball, and then when it got time to do live pitching from kid to kid, your parents, more so your mother, if memory serves me correctly, decided to go ahead and switch you around to the sport of basketball. But the question is, who really actually put the ball in your hand when it's time to play? Was there a particular coach, or was it your brother, or is something you just picked up yourself?
That's a great question. When it was time to start hooping, when I got bored with baseball right around 10, 11 years old, I had a knack for the game. I always kind of enjoyed it. My heart was with baseball, but I would always play on the playground, at school, at recess, and lunchtime. Couldn't wait to get out of class just to, show what I could do, even when I was playing baseball still. So I think baseball just helped my hand-eye coordination. So I had really good instincts on the court when I started playing. But I just gravitated to it on my own. I think at that time, in the late 80s, early 90s, LA was a different place. So, the gangbanging and the drug epidemic was at an all-time high. And it was something to really keep me and my brother off the streets and keep us out of trouble for sure.
Absolutely. Now, being a phenomenal athlete for both you and your brother, let's talk about some things that you did potentially off the court. So did you have some hobbies growing up that also took a hold of your attention?
Well, I always loved drawing. I thought I'd be an architect, so it was kind of interesting. But all that stuff's coming back into the fold, obviously, with our Manchild clothing line. I'm rocking the hat and T-shirt here, right, as we speak. And, I put an eye on everything. It's a look and feel for me. I'm very involved with everything that I stand behind for the most part. So I think that's coming into play today as far as the art side of things. And, I always love fashion. So clothing and stuff, is right up my alley. I love art, so art decos and galleries and stuff like that, people probably don't know about, but those are things that I really enjoy, and I'm a techie too, so like all the latest and greatest technology, televisions, phones, whatever little gadgets, I'm into that kind of stuff too.
Can I ask this question really quickly? In terms of your love for architecture and art, was that something that really heightened as well with your days in Europe?
Yeah, I think I had a different appreciation for the Mona Lisa and different things like that. When you're able to travel through Italy and France and different places and go to the Louvre, obviously in Paris, and, the Champs-Élysées, and you see different things, Eiffel Tower. You go to some of these historical countries and you see some of these monuments that you would read about in history class, to be able to touch and feel that, and to be able to smell, like even what the climate's like out there, the air quality is much different. The food tastes different, the water's different, everything across the board. So it helped me become more well-rounded for sure as an adult.
Thank you.
Mr. Schea Cotton, everybody knows you as Schea. You were given your middle name after a cabaret singer, Maurice Chevalier. But what most people don't know is your first name is actually Vernon. Where were you ever referred to as Vernon, and when did Schea really become the name that you went by?
Yeah, I was referred to as Vernon all through grade school, and I hated it. My mother and father gave me that name, and I used to tell them, why couldn't you give me something else? I don't even look like a Vernon. So that was the thing. But, I didn't feel so bad when I was coming up watching Vernon Maxwell, Mad Max down there in Houston, Eddie Smith and them, a New York City guy, and Hakeem Olajuwon. So I said, well, there's a guy named Vernon in the league, so it can't be too bad. But, he was more of a rebel, so he didn't have the best image off the court, but he could definitely play. I think as far as Schea is concerned, my middle name is Chevalier. So Maurice Chevalier, he sang the song "Thank Heavens for Little Girls." My parents thought I'd be a girl at that time, so Chevalier just kind of stuck. It was too hard for a lot of people to pronounce, so Schea was the abbreviation. And one of the announcers that used to follow me when I played here locally in LA, Kenny Miller, he gave me the nickname. We were playing against Lamar Odom and the Long Island Panthers. I believe it was my sophomore summer when we had just won a state championship. I was the state player of the year in California, and he was calling me Say Hey. So Say Hey, Schea Cotton. It just kind of had a ring to it. A lot of the
Say Hey Kid.
Absolutely. A lot of the announcers and the reporters and stuff like that from that point on just started referring to me as Schea, and it had a ring to it.
Okay. See, even I got it wrong. I thought it was Chevalier. What is it? Chevalier?
Yeah, Chevalier. You let
Got
it roll.
Right.
The
There you go.
all right, let it roll.
I got it now, though.
Got you.
All right. Family is obviously important, and I see how involved your family was. You had battles with your brother that were vital to your development, both physically and mentally. Speak on the significance of your brother's influence and how it drove your competitive spirit.
It was big. I mean, because all I had was one older sibling, full blood. So for me, it was looking up to him to see how he was carving his niche, paving the way. And I was just taking pages out of his book. I gleaned to him. We trained together. I practiced with a lot of his peers, guys 2, 3, 4 years older than me, and even played. So the training was definitely vigorous because I was younger. So there was no nonsense. You couldn't make excuses. Or when I stepped on the floor, I had to earn my keep, and I had to keep my level up, the intensity. So it really helped me, So when I played against my peers, I felt like I had an edge because there was a different level of intensity that I was playing with. And I had a quiet confidence. The physicality wasn't an issue because I was being beat up by older guys already. So, and I wasn't even developed, man. I was a scrawny kid. I was 5'9", I don't know, 170 or something like that, 165, but I was a rail. I started out as a point guard. And growing up in LA, I was a Magic Man, Showtime era guy. So I loved to pass. I could score at will. And my whole thing was to win ball games and make the other 4 guys on my team on the floor better.
Absolutely. Go ahead, T.
Thanks. So in the era of Mr. Cotton of super parents, bleacher parents, and all parents want to be involved in, we have the era of LeVar Ball. Your parents at home kept you really humble. They gave y'all chores and things that y'all needed to do. But really behind the scenes, the question is, was there any pressure from them eventually to get better and potentially, go professional? Or was that pressure that you put on yourself because you wanted to provide your parents a better way of life from all the rough dealings going on where you was from in LA and South Central at the time?
I think it was a combination. The pressure I put on myself was to, walk a straight line and not get caught up. I mean, I have family members, cousins, and homies of mine that I grew up with that gave a lot of time to the penitentiary system, and some of them are no longer here. I buried my best friend at 15. So life got real serious for me. And, at that time, I became number one player in the country. I mean, Sports Illustrated had did a 4-page layout. USA Today had ranked me top 10. I was coming out of here. We weren't getting the respect that we get today. I mean, California's a hotbed for talent. People are seeing how talented our players are today because we got probably some of the most guys in the NBA to date. But back then, it was a rarity to see a guy come from LA to go back east, to earn his keep there, to develop a name. ESPN to come up and do a special for me in prep school in the tri-state area was unheard of for a guy from here. So my whole thing was, I knew that I was a trailblazer. Like God gave me certain gifts, and I knew life was going to be easy. It didn't start out easy, so I wasn't expecting to have an easy road. But my whole goal was to be the best I could be, and to be a guy that did things on the floor that nobody else could really duplicate.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Cotton, at the early age of 12 years old, you had grown people lined up outside of gymnasiums to come watch you. So take me through this at the age of 12, because you're not even a teen, you're a kid. When you seen grown people in lines, how did you just get off the bus or get out of a car and have to walk in the gym and know that you were a center of attraction? Mentally, how did you begin to develop so fast other than, peers and guys your age at that time?
It was a rush for me, being able to walk into gyms and knowing that it's going to be packed out. I mean, wall to wall, standing room only. I had people that would drive 2 hours one way just to come watch me play. And they had good jobs. These are air traffic controllers, people that monitoring planes coming into the airport, stuff like that. And they drive 2 hours one way to come watch me play. This is pre-social media. The thing today that I really want to express and hammer home is people are so stuck on social media with YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All that stuff is great, but I didn't have that. So you couldn't use social media to check me out. You had to physically come to a gym or get a newspaper and read up on the stats. And I think it made the game much more special because guys worked harder. We had less opportunity. And I think we really took advantage of the opportunities that we had because we didn't have as many teams to play on as far as AAU. We didn't have as many tournaments. There was very few camps. It was basically dominated by Nike, Adidas, and Reebok. And that was pretty much it. And if you weren't good enough, you had to wait.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Listen, I understand what you mean when you say that, because you were like folklore. You were an urban legend. You were like Loch Ness. People literally, as you said, had to show up to the gym to see it firsthand, or you missed it. It's almost like Wilt scoring 100 points. You had to be there to witness it all. But moving beyond that, I understand that you had a desire to play with your brother at Long Beach, but he declared for the NBA draft, and that changed everything. Some other things transpired in between, of course, but despite the shoulder injury that you sustained, there was still tremendous interest in you as a pro. Is there a reason that you didn't make the jump straight to the NBA from high school?
I think
Because we know the year before Garnett had done it, and
right.
you gave him the business.
Right.
So you very well could have done it. Is there a reason?
I think at that time it was a rarity. You know, I knew KG was ready when we played against each other. I said, this guy's gonna be special. Somebody with those intangibles of that size and that tenacity. I mean, he had a great package, so I knew he was on his way. For myself, it was more about proving myself coming back after injury, like, you know, a shoulder reconstruction, a labral tear to my shooting arm that I never really suffered any major injury before that. So it was more mental and emotional for me. And, you know, the writers kind of wrote me off. They just slandered me in the media, and everybody just kind of walked away. Like the bandwagon of people that was following me, that gravy train that kind of left and moved on to Baron Davis and Paul Pierce and some other guys out of my city. And that really drove me too, because I knew, like, when we played against each other, what I would do to them week in and week out in our local tournaments. So I think I just wanted to show the world at the Division I level in college that, look, I can play. I'm the best player on my team. I'm going to be one of the top players in my conference. I'm going to lead my team as far as we can go. You know, I really possess a different skill on the floor where I'm an undeniable top 10 pick. And obviously, you know, it didn't work out in my favor. Some of these things were out of my control. And I don't want to get into too many of the particulars. I think as people watch the documentary, they'll have a better understanding of what I mean to the culture of basketball.
Speaking of the documentary, the NCAA has a long tradition of player exploitation, whether it's regarding the usage of player likeness, leaving players to fend for themselves on campus, whatever it is. But did you feel there was a tremendous attention that you had garnered and that made you a target?
Most definitely. I mean, you're the number one player in the country at 15 years old. Where you go from there? You know, neither one of my parents played. You know, I didn't grow up in New York or Mecca. I love NY. That's like my second home. You know, I played there. I have great relationships. Lamar Odom, Speedy Claxton, Eric Barkley, some of the best guys out of the city. Stephon Marbury. For me, it was like, well, who do I turn to? Everybody was latching on to me for what they can gain, not what's best for Schea. It was what's best for them. So it was just kind of like, it was unexplainable because I was kind of like a Martian in a world, you know, with normal people. You know, some people refer to me like as some superhero. You know, like it wasn't real. It was like folklore. It was like an enigma. You know, you had to watch me play, so you had no social media. And then when people watch me, they went away like, wow, you know, I can't believe he just caught an alley-oop reverse off a backdoor lob. Like, you don't see guys normally do that, you know, but I watched a lot of tape. I knew who Lenny Bias was in Maryland. I saw what he did to Jordan against North Carolina. People don't understand that if Lenny would have survived, you know, his issue with that
problem,
he might have been the best ever. So I was a historian too, and I think that's what made me different from a lot of my peers. I would come home and watch my film. I'd study that same night after a game, and I'd look for my mistakes. I'd jot down the mistakes, make mental errors. I'd play games in my head before games 2 or 3 times. I go through a whole game, every situation. So when I got in that situation again, I didn't make the same mistakes. And I think that's what catapulted me, as well as the physical prowess and just the work ethic, determination.
Yeah, you were beyond your time because not a lot of young guys do that. They don't even like doing it now as they get older and they know the importance of watching film. But you were doing that back then. That's tremendous. Go ahead, Tate.
You know, Mr. Cotton, it's great that you say that because we had the great Walt Williams, the Wizard, in, and he was talking about the iconic, the late great Mr. Lenny Bias. And you're right. People don't put enough emphasis on Mike is Mike only because Lenny was lost at too early, too gone, too soon. But if we think back about Lenny Bias and his stature and his physical gifts, you two mirror that into the fact that you both, especially you was like a walk-in video game. Like your bounce was serious. You was like a walk-in NBA jam. So much so that, man, listen, the Lord has it that Vince Carter didn't even want no problems with you because of your bounce. But the question is, at that age, being so young, where did the flair for the reverses and all that energy come with your dunking style? Talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
I mean, LA, we flashy, man, like flamboyant. It's go hard to go home. I mean, you hit Melrose when you go to Sunset. I mean, you look around, it's like the best of the best, the finest, finest cars, the finest jewelry, the finest clothes. So with everything being thrown at you with Hollywood all the time, you got to bring your A game every night. And that's something that I took to heart. So my game was like a combination of a lot of different players and then my own taste to go with that, from studying guys like Walt Williams, X3 Hip, watching Lawrence Moten at Syracuse, watching a lot of guys, Derek Coleman, Billy Owens, the Fab Five at Michigan. I enjoyed watching them play because I knew they was having fun out there. And I said to myself, I want to be like that on the floor, like not so bottled up and everybody playing tight like robots. You got to play loose and relaxed. And when I stepped on the floor, that was my domain. It's like I was at peace because I was being haunted with so much frustration and so much anxiety and so much responsibility off the floor at 15. I mean, I had to perform and I knew it. I couldn't have nights off because somebody was lobbying to take my spot, even my own team. You know what I mean? So where do you go from there when you have no parents to glean to that played the game? My folks were just trying to keep me grounded and level-headed and a God-fearing person of work ethic. And they accomplished that goal.
Absolutely. So speaking of working hard, you had an opportunity to play the late great Kobe Bryant, rest in peace to Kobe, in a high school opportunity, a school opportunity back in the day, and y'all went at it. But the legend has it that after he got done playing you, that's where the real work ethic came into play because he said, "Man, I got to step it up because Shea really out here." Talk about that opportunity when you played Kobe, and was he everything that you thought he was going to be in his future career?
It was interesting because I heard kind of vaguely about him before that, because I was nationally known at that time. I think my name was much bigger, and I was hearing little stories. He's working out with the Sixers and stuff like that at Temple, and I was close to a guy that was kind of like somebody that chaperoned him at the NBPA Top 100 in Princeton, New Jersey, where we played in '95, Littell Vaughn out of Philly. And he was talking big smack. And then when me and Kobe, we were all eating together in the mess hall. Tim Thomas, him, myself, and my guy out of Philly, Donnie Carr. We were all sitting kind of in the same table. And he was just kind of going back and forth about different conversations. And he was kind of talking about the West Coast is soft and all you guys do is shoot jumpers and run down the court. And how he gonna bust me up tomorrow, the next day when we play. So I had no back down in me. So, I wasn't taking too kindly to that. So I had some choice words for him. And I said, we'll see what's up tomorrow. I'm a different breed. So, we'll see what's up when the ball go up. And for me, it was just kind of like, all right, I got to hold the coach down. Now I got to show everybody what LA's really about. So when we was playing, in my head, I just kept hearing, oh, you soft, this and that. I'm like, nah, I'm far from that. Ain't nothing to prop me. The way I grew up was very tough. I did construction with my dad. It started at 11 years old. When I was playing baseball, me and my brothers playing the game, and then we go do construction for 4 or 5 hours, or vice versa. And then we go to the gym and play basketball and have a tournament after working in the sun for 5 hours in 100-degree weather at 12 years old. Like, most people aren't doing that. So that developed a different tenacity within me. And I think I showed that when I played because I hated construction so much. I used to tell my father, why you make me do this? Well, I understand now. He's gone, rest in peace. But
Yeah,
he was teaching me work ethic and accountability.
absolutely.
You know, and as far as Cole, to answer your question, the one-on-one matchup that we had when we played against each other, it was a battle that I'll never forget. I hold dearly. You know, when he passed away, a part of me died with him. But he matched that intensity. And physically, I was more gifted and I was on a different level because of my training and my work ethic at that time. So I got the better end of him on that day, and our team won the game. But it was a bond that we would share for life from that point on. I would see him in LA on several different occasions after that, and he always showed me love and, you know, always spoke, and it was genuine. So I think he knew deep down that I brought the best out of him too. So that would be my top one-on-one matchup out of everybody that I played against, for sure.
Wow, thank you for that insight. Thank you.
Speaking of your training regimen and things like that, because you brought that up, and that's kind of what you and Cole kind of differentiated each other because of your work ethic at that time. I know you and your brother really worked out. Y'all were on a serious grind. You would literally climb on each other's back and do toe squats and everything. Yeah. Whose idea was that off the rip to say, listen, this is how we're going to do it. This is how we get our balance? Because I know both of y'all calves was like massive.
Right,
so
I think it was a combination. We would try different things. You know, we were like a freak about the training because we knew if we could keep an edge, the competition would never catch up. So it was more about, well, how do we become the best out of LA Harbor area? Because everybody we grew up with was gang banging and dope dealing. And then a good job for us at that time was kind of like being a longshoreman, which is still a good job today. You make $100,000 a year, but you got to work your butt off and, you know, make sure a crane don't drop on you because they have a lot of fatalities out there. But this is one of the largest ports in the world. This is where all the import-export comes in. Right in my city, San Pedro, where I started, and now I reside in Long Beach, where I've lived for over 25 years. So it means a lot to be from this fabric in this city and to go to the mountaintop where I went, where God took me, and to come all the way back down to the bottom and never run. I never hid. I didn't try to relocate in another state. I said, you know what, I'm gonna face this demon and you're gonna bring me through this. And I know I'm gonna be better because of it, and I'm gonna help so many people after that.
Facts.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I want to talk real quick about your career overseas. You played for a number of years. What was the best experience that you can recall from your entire overseas experience, and how many languages are you now fluent in?
Great question. The best experience for me was probably playing in the Euro League, which was the Super League at that time. It was the second best league in the world. I played with KK Partizan out of Belgrade, Yugoslavia. It's now formerly known as now Serbia. Me and Vlade Divac had the same agent, Mark Fleischer, who represented Stefan Marbury at the time too. So Vlade on the team, we had to end with that, and it was a great situation. It was a guy that had just left in my position, so it was a quick deal. I didn't get drafted, obviously, into the NBA. I was the last cut in the CBA, Sioux Falls Skyforce with Victor Page and Albert White, another DC guy, Victor Page, was special himself. And I think that was most memorable for me because my transition was such difficult situations for me. It was cold. Eastern Europe is probably like 30, 35 degrees below in the winter. I mean, it gets really cold down there. So the cuisine, the culture, the fabric of the language barrier, it was tough. I mean, my first 30 days was hell. So to be able to push through that and to have a different appreciation for their country and their people and the culture, it stands out in my mind. I mean, I had one of the best pizzas I've ever had over there. You know, they put in Serbia, in Srpski, they say yaye. Egg is yaye in their language. So you put the egg on top, and then they have a little spicy ketchup you put on there, and I do the pepperoni and cheese, the good old fashioned. It's one of the best pizzas I ever had. So, and food was comfort for me. So when I'm homesick, I try to find some good food to eat, just to bring that tension and that frustration down. People don't understand. International basketball is very difficult because you're not the man when you go over there. They have totally local guys that they're pushing, and you're just like a spoke on the wheel, and you got to get in where you fit in. And if you get in the right situation, then it may work in your favor. Like Brandon Jennings, who went to Italy and played Lotto Grammatica for 1 year before he went to the NBA. I didn't have that situation. I got in some tough predicaments, and I just made the most of the situation. So that's why I went from country to country, because it was trying to find a home. you know.
What I found very interesting, and I hate to even go this route really with what you said, was we had Ty Grant on quite some time ago, and he's another New Yorker. I'm a New Yorker as well, and all us New Yorkers think we know pizza. And he said the very same thing. When he played overseas, he had the best pizza he had overseas. What is it about over there that makes their pizza so much better than what we have over here? Because apparently our pizza is trash now.
I love New York pizza. I mean, you tell me, the best Italian food to me that I've had in the U.S. is Carmine's in New York City. So I'm a big foodie. I think it's the water, and I think it's just everything is organic. There's nothing processed about what they're preparing. Where here it's like, how fast can we spit it out and then quantify it?
Yeah.
There it's about the quality, and sometimes it's simplicity that makes a difference, whether it's a brick oven pizza or something that's just original. But the flavor, the texture, I think the tomatoes taste different, and the seasonings. So it's a combination. But I know Ty as well. I mean, he did Riverside Church, I believe, coming up.
Yeah, he did Riverside.
Yeah.
Shout out Riverside.
Real quick though, you didn't let me know how many languages are you now fluent in?
I wouldn't say fluent, but I speak a little French. I speak some Srpski, which is the Serbian language, and obviously Spanish. Being from LA, that's pretty much standard. You got to know some kind of Spanish, but I can get around.
Okay. That's what's up. Go ahead, T.
So, excuse me. So, Mr. Cotton, when we talk about high school legends and high school phenoms and just high school iconic guys, names like Lou Alcindor, names like Moses Malone, and also the late great Ertigo Manigault stick out as prep stars that everybody was fascinated about. But when you talk about the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme of high school basketball, whether it's local reporters, national reporters, elite guys themselves, they said the best show ever in high school was you. When I mention those names, but then you think about yourself, how do you fit and how do you feel and how does that make you feel internally?
It makes me feel good, to know that I rank amongst the other greats, in our nation. I think the body of work speaks for itself, and it goes back to the commitment. I think God blessed me with several gifts. Basketball just happened to be one to be the caveat to capture everyone's attention. Now, the downside to that was when things didn't work out, how fast people left. You get a chance to see, who's who and what's what. I watched Kareem. He went to Power Memorial, played at UCLA when my mother was there. I did my homework on a lot of these guys. The Earl Manigault, I watched his story, replacing the dollar, putting change on top of the backboard, crazy stuff. These stories, I grew up with a guy, Joey Johnson, had a 50-inch vertical leap. He was shooting downward jump shots, Johnson, his brother, rest in peace. So for me, to be mentioned among the greats is a blessing in itself. I would say that, I sought out to achieve a certain goal, and on some level I accomplished that. Now, the flip side to it is people tend to refer to you when you're a legend in the past tense, and I'm still living. I'm still getting to a lot of kids. I think that's what's more important today, the way I live my life, rather than what I did on the court and the talent that I possessed. It's the heart that was bred within me from all these tragedies and these adversities that I had to face.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So you also, with that being said, was an amazing showman on the court. Your rising ability was awesome, just the athleticism. But who was that one cat? Who was that one guard or anybody? Who could you always count off with just always finding your sweet spot when they threw that oop for you? Who was it?
Oh man, my guy Kenny Bruner coming up. Bad Santa. That was my AAU point guard for some years, and he was a pest on defense. They hated to play against him. The other guards. You ask half them guards in the Big East his freshman year at Georgetown, they feared him because it was 90 feet the whole game. And just tough competitor. We mirrored each other in that way. And he knew I was going to bring my hard hat every night. And I knew I could depend on him. So the timing was there, the cohesiveness, and he loved to pass. He was a guy that was a pass first, shoot second type of guy. And he'd lock up on D too. So he was far from a liability. And, the other guy I'd probably say, Jason Hart played with me a little bit, who played at Syracuse as well, was an LA guy. And Lujimi Man, a lot of guys don't really know about him. In latter years, he was great as an amateur, but didn't get the chance to play at the highest level in college. And my high school guard, Kevin Augustine at modern day. Those 3-4 guys, I think, will really set the table. And I just tell them, just throw it up there, I'll go get it.
Talk that talk. Go ahead, Kev.
Listen, you've had some distinguished teammates and opponents over the years. Out of all these guys you either played with or against, who impressed you most?
Great question. I have to say Kobe. I'd say Kobe just because of the prowess. You know, I think he wasn't as polished as he became then, but you could see signs of greatness. You know, he just had this will to keep going, and we mirrored each other with that. And you know, I had fond memories, and still today I think about the battle that we had. I think you remember the good and the bad in life. The in between is kind of great. So I'd probably say Kobe and probably Meta World Peace just because of his tenacity. You know, he was a defensive block guy. He really made me work on offense. But those two guys right there are probably the toughest matchups that I had. And I really respected KG. I mean, what he was doing in high school was ridiculous.
Incredible, yeah, definitely. Speaking of high school, from a physical standpoint, and the attention received as a result of how explosive and physically intimidating he is, I personally liken Zion to the second coming of yourself. Would you agree? And what would you say sets you guys apart?
I mean, definitely his prowess, his physical prowess. You know, a lot of people like to compare him to me since I'm older. Obviously, he's a little thicker than I was when I played. Very explosive. I mean, he's exciting to watch. I think he attacks the rim like I did. I would just like to see him develop more of a mid-range because it would open up his to the rim game a lot more, and it would save his body some of that wear and tear and get in some better shape. You know, lean out a little bit. I still think he's a little bit too heavy. He'd be a lot more explosive, and he could probably do more on both ends of the court if he lost about 10 to 15 pounds. But I mean, we've never seen a guy like him at his size with that kind of weight move the way he moves. I mean, his first step is a lot like mine was. I mean, that jab and I'm gone. You know, it doesn't matter how good a defender is. If you sell the jab right, you're going to beat him to that angle every time. So that's what we're seeing when we're watching him play. He's taking very few dribbles to get to the rim from the three. Everybody's just kind of sitting on the edge of their seat waiting to see what he's going to do next. I think it's great for the game of basketball for the NBA to have a guy like that with some of the older guys finishing up now. And Kobe not being with us anymore, rest in peace. But I think it would be him and a guy like a LeBron from a physical prowess. But, you know, I was a dog, so I was more like a Jordan than a LeBron. I think LeBron is more like a Magic type of player. Magic Johnson is. He's a great passer. He's very well-rounded. But I think Jordan was separated him, and I think Kobe took a page out of that book as well. He wasn't trying to be liked by everybody. You know, and he would be the guy to take the last shot, and he wasn't scared to take it either. So, and he do it consistently, just like in Utah when he shot those air balls. He came right back, and he was aggressive all over again the next season. So, there's something to be said for that, and I think Zion could be special if he really works on his guard skills. You know, his breakdown moves and just being under control and be able to hit shots from the mid range and hit occasional threes when he's open. You know, he can be unstoppable.
All right, I got a couple more if TJ don't mind, because I don't want to take up all the time here. But looking back at all the games you've played in your life, and you've played quite a bit, is there one particular game or a moment in the game that just stands out to you and that you're most proud of?
There's a few of them. I'd say in high school, I think we were at Christmas tournament playing against Stephon Marbury's team with Lincoln, playing against Christ the King in that same tournament with Lamar Odom, Eric Barkley, Ira Miller, Speedy Claxton. They were all on one team. They were stacked, and we beat both of the squads. So that would be the Above the Rim tournament in San Diego. That stands out. Torrey Pines tournament in San Diego. That stands out in my mind, as well as tournament in Vegas. We played against Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. The K-Swiss Pacers was an LA team, and KG joined their team just to beat our squad, the SoCal All-Stars at that time. I remember playing against them. I had about 38 playing against them. We lost by about 7 or 8. My teammates were flat that night, you know, just needed a little bit more scoring. And, you know, we took an L, but it would probably be that game. And then last but not least, my state championship game, my sophomore year, 1995, with Model Day High School beating Oakland Fremont in the Coliseum where the Warriors used to play at before they built their new arena. And I became a state player of the year, first ever, you know, still hasn't been done as a sophomore. John Wooden player of the year in all CIF. So for sure.
Lastly, as a person that does lots of youth outreach, what's the most fulfilling part of how do you do, or how do you see yourself continuing and making a difference? Like, what's the most fulfilling part of that?
Just staying hungry, like being passionate about my service. I think, you know, staying rooted in my faith and remaining humble in my pursuit, and, you know, staying on, keep my foot on the gas. I think I grew up in an era where nothing was given to me. My father always taught me how to earn my keep. He said, just show up. You got to come early and stay late. And you pay your dues. Good things will happen when you do things the right way. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but it's worth it in the end because you don't have to duck and run from nobody.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Tay.
Absolutely. Just got 2 more for you real quick, Mr. Cotton. So today is a different era. It's a different breed, but you being a Cali guy, Cali's been synonymous in everything from the civil rights movement and the Black Panthers. We talking the Watts riots and, you know, the infestation of drugs in the African American community. And then also in the 90s, we witnessed the late 80s, around 90s, the Rodney King beating. Talk about now when you go into schools and you talk about different things and you speak to these kids. And then also think about what organizations, leagues such as the NBA is doing right now to give that message about how we're in a different era and the racial injustices and the things going on with today, post, you know, the George Floyds and everything that happened in 2020.
I think when I go into schools, and typically today, I deal with the real issues. Just making sure you got food in your stomach and a roof over your head, and clothes on your back and things like that, and safety. Taking precautions and being smart out here, traveling in packs away from school when you're in the streets, and making good decisions. Surround yourself with good people and somebody that you can look up to. If your parents aren't around, an aunt, uncle, or a mentor or something of that sort that can motivate you to keep you on track, because one wrong move, it's all over. That's all of us. I mean, you make a bad decision as an adult, you go into the big house, whether you like it or not. So it's more of choices that we all have in the 24 hours that we all have. It's like, what decisions are you making and how are you living your life? I always tell kids about accountability, because accountability and the character side of it, when it comes to character, is what you do when no one's watching. And I think that's really special right there. And people tend to forget that. We put on our best game face when the lights come on and the camera's live, but when the cameras is off in the dark, what are you doing? That's what's more important.
Absolutely. I think that's really what sets LeBron apart from everybody else.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Mr. Cotton, we definitely want to thank you for being a part of Stoop tonight. It's been a great experience speaking to you, and everything that we thought about this is going to be tonight. It's been that and more, so we really appreciate it. But you're not off the hook yet. I got a special question for you. So we talking LA basketball. Who would be on the Mr. Schea Cotton Mount Rushmore of, I'm not going to say LA, I'm going to say California basketball. And then I'm also going to give you an opportunity to say who's on the Schea Cotton Mount Rushmore of just basketball in general. So California and then the world of basketball.
How many guys on each?
Well, there's only 4 heads on the Mount Rushmore. Come on, Mr. Cotton. So you got 4 and 4.
Let's see.
And here's the thing, we know you great, so we're gonna give you a pass. So we ain't gotta put yourself on there because we know you okay. Iconic. But 4 and 4.
Okay. I had to say Tyson Chandler.
This is California first?
Yeah, California first. I'd say Tyson Chandler. I'd say Paul Pierce. Let's see. I'd have to probably say, I'd probably say you put me on the spot with this one. Let me see. I got 2 more. Tracy Murray, and probably let's say Baron Davis.
I was just thinking, I was like, man, okay.
Jason Kidd. I had to put that kid in there. Get a base of love.
Okay, yeah.
And
there you go.
Nationally, Kevin Garnett. I'd have to say Stephon Marbury, Lamar Odom. And these are guys pretty much in my era. So I'm probably going to go with Tim Thomas.
Tim Thomas.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, once again, Mr. Schea Cotton, thank you so much for coming to the Stoop. But before we go, we would be remiss if we wouldn't give you the opportunity to talk about Manchild and anywhere they can either participate or get information on, and also talk about where they can watch and view the documentary and get some of the apparel and the merch. So go ahead, take it away and give some information.
Absolutely. You can find Manchild on therealmanchild.com, which is my website, not now, but right now. It's available on all the streaming platforms. You know, we're on Amazon, we're on Prime Video, and we're on YouTube as well. We're all over the place. Don't hesitate. Go get it right now. Don't wait.
All right. Once again, we want to thank Mr. Schea Cotton for coming on and talk about his journey and thank him for all he does and what he's brought to the world of basketball. And we salute him and we want him to do the very best. We're helping our youth and helping our world become a better place. We thank you today, Mr. Cotton. For my guy, Kev Pete, it's been another great episode of The Stoop. Make sure you like, subscribe, and continue to watch and follow. And for the next episode, we got you coming. Take care. See y'all later.